If you ever wanted to add custom animations to your stream but didn't know where to start, this video walks you through the full process step by step. I'm talking about a simple text animation inside Unreal, rendering it out, bringing it into Blender, preparing it for broadcast, and adding it to OBS. From there, I'll show how to trigger the animation using either a Stream Deck or Streamer.bot. By the end, you'll have a full workflow that you can reuse for alerts, transitions, or any custom animation that you might want to add to stream. Let's jump in. Today's video is not sponsored. The softwares that we are using today are generally free. The major point that I would like to make is that if you do begin making large royalties off Unreal Engine, I would begin diving back into their terms of service. The exception to the free part is Elgato. You tend to need a Stream Deck, but there is a free mobile app that has some utility. I added the workflow and visuals here if you are getting going in streaming. The tools I'm using in today's video are Unreal Engine 5.4, Blender, OBS, the Stream Deck app, and Streamer.bot 1.0.4. Note, UE 5.4 has the introduction of motion design. Newer versions should look similar. If you use a different set of tools, feel free to drop comments below on what those might be. First, we're going to open Epic Games Launcher. On the left-hand side, notice that there is a tab for Unreal Engine. I manage my local Unreal Engine versions here, as well as my projects. Below are some of the things that I have added to my Epic account, either for free or purchased over the last 3 years. Next to engine versions, there is a yellow plus button. Click on that and it will queue you a version of Unreal Engine to download. If you want to change the version here, you can select that from the drop-down button. Launch the engine here and it will bring you to the project browser menu. Use an existing project if you wish, or use an engine compatible to any content you will use. Starting out with animations, I clicked on Film and Video and Live Events button. Here I can enable starter content or ray tracing if that is the type of rendering I want to use. The project can be named here, and for this tutorial I don't need anything special, so I will click on a blank template. The engine will begin launching. Note this may take a bit of time depending on your setup. Once you're in the engine, for the purpose of this tutorial, we are going to enable two separate settings. For one setting, click on Edit, then click on Project Settings. In the search bar, type Alpha. Here you can change the setting to linear color space to allow tone mapper. If you want alpha transparency in your project, this setting is likely needed. For the other setting in this tutorial, we are going to use a text actor from the motion design module that was integrated in UE 5.4. Click on Edit, then click Plugins, then search for Motion, and toggle the motion design module. You're going to need to restart the engine for the settings and configurations to take effect. After the engine relaunches, there appears to be extra windows. Close out of these windows to get to the main world to begin working. From the black drop-down box, pick Motion Design Mode. On the left side toolbar, click Actors, then click Text Actor. Drop it into the world. If you click on the actor in the outliner, you can go to the Details panel where you can adjust parameters such as alignment and text that is displayed. Click on the world space for the effects to take place. Feel free to adjust the orientation of the object, the font, and if you would like to add some depth to the object, just increase the extrude value. Next, we're going to talk about materials. You could create your own for lettering, but an easy, free, higher quality option is available from the Fab Store. After logging in with your Epic account and searching for automotive, one of the top options should be automotive materials, which you could add to your account and has plenty of options to select from. My only note for this is that in Unreal 5.7, substrate material is the new default, so the old materials tend to break if you migrate these into newer engine versions. While creating this video, I noticed that Epic added an automotive substrate version, so if you start with a newer version of the engine, consider looking into this. Open up the content drawer and right-click in the space to create two materials, which we are going to assign to the text actor color. Enter a name for the material and double-click on it to open up the editor for the material. Right-click and begin typing constant and select constant 3 vector. Double-click on it to open the color picker. Select the color of your choosing, click OK, and then grab the top handle and drag it into the base color. Click Save and close the material. Open the content drawer again and right-click on the material you just created and select Duplicate. Change the name of the second color. Double-click on it to open the material, double-click on the 3 vector box you created earlier, and change the secondary color to another color of your choosing. Click OK, click Save, and close the material also. Open the content drawer again and drag the two materials onto the separate faces. If the object doesn't retain this, we might have to apply these a separate way later on. Next, we want to create a simple animation to demonstrate the workflow on how I would create simple animated text for my Twitch stream. Change the motion design mode back to the standard selection navigation. Open Content Browser again, right-click in the gray area, go up to the cinematics and click on Level Sequence. Enter a name and double-click on it to generate a timeline for the animation. Click on the camera icon. This will place one in the world and into the timeline. This is what we will use to record the text actor. Navigate the camera with the WASD keyboard controls and mouse to a near perpendicular position as close to the shot that you want to create. I make a few small fine-tunes to the camera orientation and click on the transform button in the timeline under the camera to save its position. Time to save the timeline in the project. I want to create a 2-second loopable animation, so I need to shorten the total frames to 60. At 30 FPS, the total shot will equal 2 seconds. To add motion to the object, I grab it from the outliner and drop it into the timeline. I hit the plus arrow next to the object and grab the transform attribute. The beginning and end need to be the same for the animation to be loopable. So with the playhead at 0, mark the position of the first frame. Grab the playhead and move it to the final frame and mark that position same as the first. Move the playhead halfway. Grab the Z-axis handlebar on the object and move it up. And then click on plus on transform to record the position. If I rewind the timeline and hit play, the animation can be checked to see the basic motion. Save the timeline and project again so no progress is lost. The shot is still fairly blurry. Here we want to reduce the focal length so that the object is clear. I've been using the 16:9 DSLR camera in Unreal, so time to select that. The object is now seen at a further distance, so redistancing and repositioning the camera is needed. Mark the position of it so that the sequence retains the position of the camera. Remove any other camera positions from the timeline. Something else that you can do to dial in the focal distance of the lens is under the lens settings and focus settings, there's an eyedropper that can be grabbed and dragged onto the object. This will grab the distance from the camera that the position is and dial in the focus for you. We're ready to render this out. What we want in the end is just floating text in our shot. Some of the things in the shot need to be hidden in the world so that they do not show up in the final shot. First, the floor. Select it in the outliner, go to the details portion, in the search bar, start typing hidden. Mark it for hidden. Do the same for a sky sphere, atmospheric fog, and reflection capture sphere, or just delete that. Go to the top and under window, go to the cinematics section, and click on movie render queue. Because this is a new project and there is only one level sequence in the project, clicking on the plus render button should display the only one you can select, so select that. Clicking on it should automatically load the level sequence that you are working on for what we are creating. If you want to save the render queue for the future, click on the job level. Click the drop down around the unsaved queue, click the save queue, enter a name, and click save. We need to load a number of settings. Click on the unsaved configuration, which will pop up a separate UI box. We will also want to save settings. Click on unsaved configuration, click on the save preset, name it, and click save. Click on the 3 dots next to the output directory and select where you want to save the still frame shots from the animation. In this instance, I will create a new folder to save them in. Looking at the current settings, I can see that the output is set to 24 FPS. The timeline is on 30 FPS, and we want to make these two the same. So click on the custom frame rate and select 30 FPS here from the dropdown. The final export will be a PNG, which supports alpha channels. So we want to disable the JPG output. Under deferred rendering, we want to select the accumulator includes alpha setting. We also need anti-aliasing, console variables, and PNG export. The PNG export came in with write alpha already enabled, which is what we need. Under anti-aliasing, change the spatial count to 4, temporal count to 16, enable override. Anti-aliasing, change to fast approximate anti-aliasing. Enable render warm-up frames. Change the warm-up frame count for both render and engine to 120 each. Under console variables, we want to change a number of settings. I will post those in the video description below. Save render settings since you have changed them if you would like to go back to them later on the fly. Click on render to render the animation. I did a preliminary render and the text turned out white. Issue resolution appears typical in animation, so I checked a few things to troubleshoot. In the detail panels, there are materials for the text actor. So one of the first things I tried to do was reapply the materials here. This began to resolve the render issue, but minor issues still remain, so I keyframed the materials to the timeline, and this seemed to begin to resolve the main issue. So I rendered out the remainder of the animation and checked the still frame files, and those look fine as well. The next step is to bring it into another software to compile images. Load up Blender. Just start a new general file. We're not going to save any of this to waste PC space. On the top menu bar, click the plus, go to Video Editing, and add Video Editing window to the Blender space. Hover your mouse over the timeline area and press Shift-A, and navigate to Image Sequence. Search for the location where you stored all of your images. Click on any image file and press A to grab the rest of the images in the folder. Click on Add Image Strip. All the images should import in the correct sequence, but the timeline length is too long and needs modified, and the frame rate needs to be set to what we want the final file to be, as well as what it was rendered out as, 30 FPS. Here I just do a quick playtest to see what the final product will look like. It looks great. There are some additional settings that need to be set. First, we want to set the file location where the final video file will render to. I quick drop down to the post-processing area to enable sequencer only, then move to the file format to set video file. Select the FFmpeg video option, go to the encoding area and select WebM if that is the final output file you would like. Then go to the video area and select the codec for WebM. Next, go to the output quality and select perceptually lossless, and set encoding speed to slowest. Enable the alpha channel by selecting RGBA on the color line under the file format type. That's everything needed. Go to the render area in the toolbar, select render animation. Let it render, and that should be all you need to do in Blender. Check the file first to make sure you got everything right, otherwise feel free to exit. Go to OBS and Sources, set up a media source, and enter any name. Click OK, browse to the file location, enable looping, click on Close File when inactive, click OK. Resize or reposition the file as needed on your stream layout. If you hold left Alt and grab the height or width handle, you can crop the sources box. Lock the source so that it isn't inadvertently moved if it is accidentally grabbed during a live stream. Another thing I would suggest is adding show and hide transitions for the source. It is much nicer than the default abrupt cut. Check out some of the different show and hide transitions. At some point during the stream, you may need to trigger the animation, so use your own convenient method if you wish. But first I will go over how I trigger some of my animations daily using an Elgato Stream Deck. You will need a few components before you create a multi-action to trigger the animation. The multicolored button on the Stream Deck app will take you to the Elgato Marketplace. Here you can search for free plugins to install that can connect to OBS. Interact with Twitch or say Streamer.bot if you use that. You may need to go through a separate tutorial on how to connect a Stream Deck to OBS or Streamer.bot. But this is how you would get the plugins from the marketplace to set up commands. Here I display a multi-action I use multiple times daily, where I trigger the source visibility for an animation on in OBS. I have something in here that disables a number of things in my Streamer.bot while this command is active. I play a sound, there's a number of delays that add up to the length I want the animation to run. I have a few chat commands I send to the channel, and at the end I turn the source visibility for the media off. To create something like this on your Stream Deck, drag the multi-action into a blank space. Double-click on it and create the structure you need provided you have the plugins. Like the prior example, I search for source visibility. If my OBS is on, I can select the scene and source for the animation. I begin searching delay to add a delay, Twitch to add a chat message. I then copy and paste the delay and source visibility to complete my prior example. Make sure you change the source visibility from show to hide. If you do not have a Stream Deck to trigger the animation, we can use a bot to trigger it. I can explain the steps with the bot that I use. So in Streamer.bot, I right-click in the action space and click on Add Action. Here you can name it and place it into a group or queue if you wish. Right-click in the trigger area. For this example, I will create a chat message trigger. Fill in the name to whatever you desire, but the command line will be the place where you can select the text that triggers it, as well as the location of the text in the chat message. To create a basic workflow for showing an animation, again it is show source visibility, delay, send chat message, delay, and hide visibility. For the extra delays and visibility toggles, I just copied and pasted. Make sure to select the correct scene and source. That's the full workflow, from a basic text animation on Unreal to triggering it live in your broadcast software. If you've done this once, you can reuse the process to create alerts, transitions, or anything custom that you want to build for your stream. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing for more practical streaming workflows and ideas. And if you end up making something with this process, I'd love to hear how you're using it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.